The courtroom feels like ice against my skin. I'm sitting here, Margaret Chen, 71 years old, with hands that won't stop shaking. In my lap, there's a manila folder I've protected for 15 years. 15 years of silence, of sacrifice, of loving children who weren't mine to begin with. Across the polished wood table, my son David sits in his pressed navy suit, his lawyer, Rachel Kim, beside him, both of them looking at me like I'm the villain in their story. David's jaw is tight, his eyes cold in a way I've never seen before, or maybe I just never wanted to see it. Judge Patricia Hayes adjusts her reading glasses and looks down at the papers before her. The fluorescent lights above make everything feel harsh and unforgiving. "Mrs. Chen," she says, her voice measured and professional, "your son is alleging that you've had custody of his 3 children for 15 years without proper legal authorization. He's seeking immediate custody and claims you've alienated the children from their biological father. What is your response to these allegations?" I grip the folder tighter. Inside are the letters, the photographs, the receipts, the proof of a truth I've carried alone for so long. My voice comes out steadier than I expected. "Your Honor, I didn't take anyone." I raised the children my son left on my doorstep when he decided they were inconvenient to his new life. "That's a lie." David shoots to his feet, his face flushed. "I had personal issues, Mom. I needed temporary help. You took advantage and kept them from me." Rachel Kim places a calming hand on David's arm and he sits back down, though his anger radiates across the room. She clears her throat. "Your Honor, my client was dealing with severe depression and substance abuse issues 15 years ago. He checked himself into rehabilitation and asked his mother for temporary assistance. Mrs. Chen used his vulnerability to establish de facto custody and has since poisoned the children against their father." I can hear the whispers starting in the gallery behind me. People are already deciding who's the victim here, who's telling the truth, but they don't know. They weren't there on that March evening when my world changed forever. Judge Hayes taps her pen against her notepad. "Mrs. Chen, caring for your grandchildren must have been challenging, but if the biological father is now stable and requesting custody—" "Your Honor," I interrupt, and my voice is stronger now, fueled by 15 years of truth. "There are things this court needs to hear before any decision is made." I lift the manila folder, hold it up so everyone can see it. It's worn at the edges, stained with coffee rings from late nights when I couldn't sleep, when I sat at my kitchen table reviewing everything, making sure I had the evidence if this day ever came. David's eyes widen slightly. I see something flicker there. Recognition, maybe fear. "What kind of documents are those, Mrs. Chen?" Judge Hayes leans forward with interest. "Proof of what really happened 15 years ago, Your Honor. Proof of why my son is here today, and I promise you, it has nothing to do with paternal love." The courtroom goes quiet. David turns pale. Rachel Kim is whispering urgently to him, but he's not responding, just staring at that folder like it's a weapon pointed at his heart. "Your Honor," Rachel tries again, "whatever documents Mrs. Chen has from the past don't change the fundamental issue here. My client has legal parental rights. He's been sober for 3 years, he's employed, he's in a stable relationship, and he wants his children back." I look directly at David. Our eyes meet, and for a moment I see the boy he used to be, my son, my baby, before everything went wrong. "These documents," I say slowly, "explain exactly why we're here. They explain why, after 15 years of complete silence, of not sending a single dollar for his children's expenses, of not even calling on their birthdays, my son suddenly appears with a lawyer. This is Revenge Stories with Michelle, a home for quiet courage and true endings. If you feel my words, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your voice matters here. Your story matters too. Judge Hayes studies me carefully. Mrs. Chen, are you alleging there are hidden motives behind this custody petition? I'm not alleging anything, Your Honor. I'm stating facts that are all documented here. I pause, letting the weight of my words settle. My son came back for one reason and one reason only. And it wasn't to be a father. David's lawyer shifts uncomfortably. Your Honor, this is pure speculation and character assassination. Then let me present my evidence, I say firmly. Let me tell this court what really happened. Let me tell the truth that my son hoped would stay buried forever. Judge Hayes nods. Very well, Mrs. Chen. Before we examine those documents, I'd like to hear your full account. Tell us what happened 15 years ago. I close my eyes briefly and I'm back there. Back to the day everything changed. It was March 14th, a Tuesday evening. I remember because I'd just gotten home from my shift at the hospital where I worked as a nurse. My feet ached, my back hurt, and all I wanted was a hot bath and some tea. I was 66 years old then, thinking about retirement, thinking about traveling, maybe visiting my sister in Vancouver. Then I heard the pounding on my door. It was almost 8 o'clock at night. I begin, my voice softer now with memory. I opened the door and there was David with his 3 children. Lucas was 9 years old, Sophie was 7, and little Emma was only 5. They were in their pajamas. Sophie and Emma were crying. Lucas was trying to be brave, but I could see the fear in his eyes. I glance at the back of the courtroom where my grandchildren sit. Lucas is 24 now, studying medicine. Sophie is 22, working as a teacher. Emma is 20, in her 3rd year of college. They're watching me with tears in their eyes, remembering fragments of that night, I'm sure. David came in like a storm, I continue. He was agitated, talking fast, not making complete sense. He threw 2 garbage bags on my living room floor. Garbage bags, Your Honor, not suitcases, with some of the children's clothes wadded up inside. He told me, "Mom, I need you to watch them for a little while. Just until I get my situation sorted out. Maybe a few weeks, maybe a month." David's face has gone red. He's staring down at the table, his jaw working like he's grinding his teeth. I asked him what situation. I asked him what was wrong. The children were clearly upset. Emma was running a fever. I could feel it when I touched her forehead. Sophie had bruises on her legs. Lucas looked like he hadn't eaten in days. I asked David what was happening, if he needed help, if there was some emergency. I pause, taking a breath, steadying myself for what comes next. He told me he'd met someone, a woman named Jennifer Martin. He said she was the love of his life and they were going to start fresh together, but Jennifer didn't want the complications of an instant family. She wanted David, but not the kids. Not yet, he said, not until they were more established. So he needed me to take them, just temporarily. The courtroom is absolutely silent. I can hear the clock on the wall ticking, can hear someone in the gallery shifting in their seat. I tried to reason with him, I say, my voice breaking just a little. I told him he couldn't just leave his children. I told him they needed their father, but David wasn't listening. He was already heading for the door. Lucas ran after him, grabbed his leg, begging him not to go. David pulled free and walked out. Just like that, he got into Jennifer's car. She was waiting outside, and they drove away. Judge Hayes is writing notes, her expression grave. Rachel Kim is conferring with David in urgent whispers. The children stood at the window, crying, calling for their daddy. Emma's fever got worse that night. I took her to the emergency room. She had an ear infection that had gone untreated for days. The doctor asked me where the child's parents were, why this had been neglected for so long. I look at David. He won't meet my eyes. That first week, I kept expecting David to come back. I kept thinking he'd realize what he'd done, that he'd come for his children. But he didn't call. He didn't write. Nothing. I didn't know where he was living because he'd moved. I had no phone number, no address. I was 66 years old with 3 traumatized children, and I had no idea what to do. Judge Hayes looks up. Mrs. Chen, did you attempt to contact the authorities? Child Protective Services? Your Honor, at that point, I thought it was temporary. David had struggled before. He'd had periods where he couldn't cope, but he'd always come back. I thought this was one of those times. And what was I going to tell them? That my son asked me to babysit his kids and hadn't come back yet? There was no crime. He was their father. He'd left them with their grandmother. I kept thinking any day he'd return. But he didn't. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Lucas started wetting the bed at night, something he hadn't done since he was 4. Sophie stopped speaking entirely for almost 2 months. Emma cried for her daddy every single night, and I held her until she fell asleep, promising her that everything would be okay, even though I didn't know if it would be. I had to enroll them in school, I continue. I needed their birth certificates, their medical records. I went to David's old apartment. The landlord told me he'd abandoned the lease 3 months before, left without paying the final month's rent. She gave me a box of things David had left behind, some of the children's papers, a few photographs, their baby books. I pull some photos from my folder and hand them to the clerk. These are pictures I took the night David left the children with me. This is what they looked like when they arrived. The judge examines the photographs, her lips pressing into a thin line. She passes them to Rachel Kim, whose face pales as she looks at them. Lucas's pajamas were too small, torn at the seams. Sophie had food dried on her face and in her hair. Emma was in a diaper that hadn't been changed in hours. These weren't children who were being cared for. These were neglected children. David covers his face with his hands. I can't tell if he's ashamed or just angry that I'm exposing him like this. Months passed, I say. Then a year. Then 2 years. I tried to find David. I hired a private investigator with money I couldn't really afford to spend. We found that he'd moved to Seattle with Jennifer. They'd gotten married. And, Your Honor, here's the part that's going to matter to this case. They had a baby together. A son they named Ryan, who's now 13 years old. Lucas, Sophie, and Emma exchange glances in the gallery. This part they know. I told them about their half-brother years ago when they were old enough to understand. David could be a father to Ryan, I say, my voice hardening. He could raise a child when it was convenient for him, when it was part of his new life with his new wife. But his first 3 children? They were just complications to be forgotten. Judge Hayes leans back in her chair. Mr. Chen, is this accurate? Did you have another child while you had no contact with your first 3 children? David finally looks up. His eyes are wet, but I don't know if those are tears of regret or just tears of self-pity. Your Honor, I was sick. I was dealing with addiction and depression. I couldn't take care of Lucas, Sophie, and Emma when I could barely take care of myself. Meeting Jennifer saved my life. She helped me get sober. When we had Ryan, I was in a better place mentally. And yet, Judge Hayes says slowly, you made no attempt to contact your other children during this time? No attempt to send financial support? No attempt to even let them know you were alive and recovering? Rachel Kim stands. Your Honor, my client was focused on his recovery. He needed to establish stability before he could remember he had 3 children? I interrupt, and my voice is sharp now. Your Honor, I'm going to be very clear about something. In 15 years, David sent exactly $0 for his children. Not one birthday card, not one Christmas call, nothing. And I raised them on a nurse's pension and whatever odd jobs I could pick up. I sold my mother's jewelry to pay for school supplies. I took out a second mortgage on this house to afford Sophie's medical expenses when she needed surgery. I did everything alone. David is crying now, genuine tears streaming down his face. Mom, you don't understand how hard it was. No, David, I snap. You don't understand how hard it was. You weren't there when Lucas had nightmares about you abandoning him. You weren't there when Sophie asked me why her daddy didn't love her enough to stay. You weren't there when Emma wrote you letters every week for 3 years, letters I kept in a box because I didn't have an address to send them to. Judge Hayes holds up a hand. Mrs. Chen, I understand your anger, but let's maintain order. Now, you mentioned having documents. What else is in that folder? I take a deep breath. This is it. This is the part that will change everything. Your Honor, I have letters that David wrote to me during the first year after he left the children. Letters where he made it very clear that he didn't intend to come back. I hand the letters to the clerk. Judge Hayes reads them, and with each page, her expression grows more troubled. In the first letter, dated about 6 weeks after he left, I say, David wrote that he and Jennifer were building a life together and that he hoped I could keep taking care of the kids because Jennifer wasn't ready for stepchildren. In the second letter, 3 months later, he wrote that Jennifer was pregnant and they were excited to start their family, Your Honor, as if Lucas, Sophie, and Emma weren't his family anymore. David is openly sobbing now. I didn't mean it like that. In the third letter, I continue, relentless now, because this truth needs to be told, David asked me to consider signing papers that would terminate his parental rights permanently. He said it would be better for everyone if I just adopted the children legally and he could move on with his new life. He offered me $5,000 as a one-time payment to cover expenses. The courtroom erupts in whispers. Rachel Kim looks shocked. Clearly, David didn't share this part of the story with her. Did you sign those papers? Judge Hayes asks. No, Your Honor. I wrote back and told David that I wouldn't let him run from his responsibilities like that. I told him that if he wanted to disappear from his children's lives, he would have to live with that choice, but I wouldn't make it legal for him. I wouldn't give him that easy escape. I pull out another document. This is his response to my letter. The last communication I received from him in 15 years. Judge Hayes reads it aloud. Mom, fine. Do whatever you want. Raise them however you think is best. I can't handle this right now. Maybe someday I'll be in a better place, but that's not today. Don't try to contact me again. I need space to heal. David. The silence that follows is deafening. For 15 years, I say quietly, I respected that boundary. I didn't try to find him. I didn't harass him. I focused on raising his children with love and stability. I got legal guardianship through the courts 10 years ago. I had to publish notices in newspapers trying to locate David, as required by law. He never responded. The court granted me full legal guardianship, and I've had it ever since. Judge Hayes looks at David with something close to disgust. Mr. Chen, why are you here now after 15 years of no contact? This is the moment. This is what everything has been building toward. Your Honor, I say, I can answer that question. 2 months ago, my brother Thomas Chen, David's uncle, passed away in San Francisco. Thomas never married, never had children of his own. He was a successful businessman, and he left his entire estate to be divided equally among his great nieces and great nephews, Lucas, Sophie, and Emma. David's face drains of all color. The inheritance is substantial, Your Honor. $200,000 for each child to be accessed when they turn 25, or earlier if they have a custodial parent who can petition the court for early access for educational or medical purposes. Judge Hayes sits forward sharply, and as the children's father, Mr. Chen would have the legal right to petition for that early access. Exactly, Your Honor, and I have proof that David learned about this inheritance exactly 10 weeks ago, 2 weeks before he hired Ms. Kim and filed this custody petition. I pull out the final documents, printouts of emails, phone records, financial documents. I hired an investigator after David showed up at my house with his lawyer. What we found was very interesting. David and Jennifer are in severe financial trouble. Jennifer lost her job 8 months ago. They're 3 months behind on their mortgage. They have over $60,000 in credit card debt. Their son Ryan's college fund is empty. They cashed it out last year to cover bills. Rachel Kim is frantically whispering to David, but he's just sitting there, frozen. And then, I continue, 10 weeks ago, David called Thomas's attorney trying to get information about the inheritance. 4 days later, he contacted Rachel Kim. 6 days after that, he showed up at my door with legal threats, saying if I didn't voluntarily transfer custody, he'd accuse me of kidnapping and parental alienation. I meet David's eyes. You didn't come back because you missed your children, David. You came back because you need their money. The courtroom explodes. Judge Hayes has to bang her gavel repeatedly to restore order. David is shaking his head, trying to speak, but no words are coming out. Mrs. Chen, Judge Hayes says when order is finally restored, do you have documentation of these threats? Yes, Your Honor. David sent me text messages and emails. I have them all printed here. I hand over the stack of papers. In them, he repeatedly mentions the inheritance. He talks about how we could work together to access the money for the children's benefit. But, Your Honor, Lucas is already 24. He doesn't need a parent to access his funds. Sophie turns 23 next month. Emma is 20. They're adults, or nearly adults. David doesn't want to be their father. He wants to be their guardian long enough to get access to their inheritance. Judge Hayes is reading through the messages, her jaw tight. Mr. Chen, did you send these messages? David finally finds his voice. Your Honor, yes, but you have to understand. We're desperate. Jennifer and I are about to lose our house. Our son is in private school, and we can't afford the tuition. I thought, if I could just get custody, I could help my kids and help my current family at the same time. It's not wrong to want to help your children financially by stealing from your other children. I can't keep the fury out of my voice. David, that inheritance is theirs. It's for their futures, their education, their security. Thomas left it to them, not to you, and you want to take it to save yourself from the consequences of your own bad financial decisions. Rachel Kim stands, looking defeated. Your Honor, I'd like to request a recess to consult with my client. I think that's an excellent idea, Judge Hayes says coldly. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. But Mr. Chen, I strongly suggest you use that time to think very carefully about whether you want to continue with this petition. The courtroom empties for the recess. My grandchildren immediately surround me, their arms wrapping around me in a tight group embrace. Lucas is crying. Sophie is whispering, "Thank you, Grandma. Thank you." Emma just holds me, shaking. Did you know? Lucas asks. Did you know he came back for the money? I suspected, I admit. The timing was too convenient. Your Uncle Thomas passes away, and suddenly your father remembers you exist. I knew something was wrong. That's why I hired the investigator. I needed proof before I made any accusations. Sophie pulls back, her face twisted with hurt. I can't believe he'd do this. I mean, I knew he abandoned us, but I always thought maybe he really was too sick, too broken to be our dad. But this? Coming back just for money? Some people don't change, sweetheart, I say gently. They just get better at hiding who they really are. Emma looks toward the doors where David and his lawyer disappeared. Do you think he ever really loved us? The question breaks my heart. I think he loved you as much as he was capable of loving anyone, honey. But some people's capacity for love is very small, especially when it competes with what they want for themselves. A court officer approaches. Mrs. Chen, your son is asking if he can speak with you privately. I look at my grandchildren. Lucas shakes his head firmly. You don't have to, Grandma. No, I agree, but maybe I should. Maybe there are things that need to be said. I follow the officer to a small conference room where David is waiting. He looks older than his 49 years, his face haggard, his eyes red from crying. When I enter, he stands up, wringing his hands. "Mom, please. What do you want, David?" He flinches at my cold tone. "I want to explain. I want you to understand." Understand what? That you abandoned your children and came back only when you thought you could profit from them? It's not that simple. His voice rises, desperate. "Mom, you don't know what my life has been like. The pressure, the stress, the constant struggle to keep everything together." "I know exactly what that's like," I interrupt. "I lived it for 15 years while raising your children on a fixed income. The difference is, I didn't abandon anyone. I didn't run away when things got hard." David slumps back into his chair. "I'm about to lose everything, Mom. Jennifer's threatening to leave me if I can't fix our financial situation. Ryan needs things. He's 13. He needs braces. He needs a new computer for school. I'm trying to hold my family together." "Your family?" I lean forward. "David, Lucas, Sophie, and Emma are your family too, or they were. You threw them away because they were inconvenient, and now you want to use them to solve your problems." "I want to help them too," he insists. "That inheritance, I could use some of it for our bills, yes, but the rest would go to the kids. I'd make sure they got what was theirs. After you took what you needed first." I shake my head. "David, even now, even after everything that's been said in that courtroom, you're still lying. To me, to yourself, to everyone." He covers his face with his hands. "What do you want me to say, Mom? Yes, I screwed up. Yes, I abandoned my kids. Yes, I came back for the wrong reasons. I admit all of that, but I'm still their father. Doesn't that count for something?" Being a father is more than biology, David. It's showing up. It's being there through the hard times. It's putting your children's needs before your own. You've never done any of that. So what happens now? His voice is small, broken. You win? You get to keep them and their money, and I get nothing? This isn't about winning, David. This is about protecting 3 people I love from someone who's proven he can't be trusted. If you withdraw your petition right now, I won't press charges for your threatening messages. I won't pursue any legal action against you. You can walk away and go back to Seattle. And my kids? I just never see them again? I stand up. That's up to them, David. They're adults, or nearly adults. If they want a relationship with you someday, that will be their choice. But it will be on their terms, not yours. And it certainly won't involve you having any access to their inheritance. I turn to leave, but David's voice stops me. "Mom, do you hate me?" I pause, my hand on the door handle. It's a question I've asked myself many times over the years. Do I hate my son for what he did? For the pain he caused? For the burden he left me with? "No, David," I say finally, turning to look at him. "I don't hate you, but I don't respect you either, and I can't trust you. That's worse than hate." When we return to the courtroom, Rachel Kim informs Judge Hayes that David is withdrawing his petition for custody. The relief on my grandchildren's faces is immediate and overwhelming. Judge Hayes makes the withdrawal official and adds a notation to the case file documenting why the petition was withdrawn, insurance against David trying this again in the future. As we're leaving the courthouse, David approaches us one last time. "Lucas, Sophie, Emma," he says, his voice catching. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything." Lucas, my oldest, my steady one, looks at his father with an expression that's neither angry nor forgiving, just tired. "Dad, I hope you figure your life out. I really do. But we don't need you. We have Grandma. We've always had Grandma. That's enough. Sophie nods. Maybe someday we can talk, Dad. Maybe when you've actually changed, actually dealt with your issues. But not now. Not like this. Emma, my youngest, just shakes her head. You hurt us so badly. For so long, I wondered what we did wrong, why you didn't love us enough to stay. Now I realize it was never about us. It was always about you, and I'm done making your issues my problem. We walk away, leaving David standing on the courthouse steps, watching us go just like he watched us that night 15 years ago. Except this time, we're the ones choosing to leave. This is Revenge Stories with Michelle, a home for quiet courage and true endings. If you feel my words, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your voice matters here. Your story matters too. That night, we have dinner at my house, the house where I raised them, where they grew up, where they learned what real family means. Lucas makes his famous stir-fry. Sophie sets the table. Emma puts on music. We move around each other with the easy comfort of people who've been a team for a very long time. Over dinner, Sophie asks the question that's been hanging in the air all day. Grandma, when did you realize Dad came back for the money? I put down my fork, thinking about how to answer. Honestly? The moment he showed up with a lawyer. Your father never did anything efficiently or officially unless he had a strong motivation. When he appeared with legal representation, ready to fight for custody after 15 years of silence, I knew something was very wrong. Then, when I checked the dates, when your Uncle Thomas died, when the will was read, when David contacted the estate attorney, it all lined up too perfectly to be coincidence. Lucas shakes his head. I can't believe we shared DNA with someone capable of that. Your father isn't evil, I say, and I mean it. He's weak. He's selfish. He makes decisions based on what's easiest for him in the moment without thinking about consequences. But that doesn't make him evil, just deeply flawed. Are you making excuses for him? Emma asks, surprised. No, honey. I'm just trying to be fair, even when he doesn't deserve it. Your father had a hard childhood himself. His own father left when David was young. He never learned what it meant to be a parent because he never had a good example. That doesn't excuse what he did, but it maybe explains some of it. Sophie reaches across the table and takes my hand. You could have turned us away that night. You could have called child services and made us someone else's problem. You were 66 years old, ready to retire. We ruined your plans. You didn't ruin anything, I say firmly. You gave my life purpose when I was feeling lost and useless. Yes, it was hard. Yes, there were times I wondered if I'd make it through. But you three were the best unexpected gift I ever received. Even though we cost you everything, Lucas asks. Your retirement savings, your travel plans, your peace and quiet. Everything I gave up was just things, Lucas. What I gained was you three. Your laughter, your achievements, your love. That's worth more than all the money in the world. We sit in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of the day finally settling into something manageable. So what happens now? Emma asks. With the inheritance, I mean. That's your money, I say. When you each reach 25 or earlier, if you need it for something important like education or a house, it will be available. Uncle Thomas wanted you to have security, opportunity. That was his gift to you, and no one will take it away. I want to give you some of mine, Lucas says immediately. Grandma, you spent so much on us. We all want to, Sophie interrupts. We've already talked about it. When we get access to the inheritance, we're each giving you a portion. You deserve it for everything you sacrificed. I feel tears welling up. You don't have to. We know we don't have to, Emma says. We want to. You gave us everything when we had nothing. Let us give back a little of that. The months that follow are peaceful in a way I haven't experienced in years. There's no longer that lingering dread that David might suddenly reappear and try to disrupt our lives. The court case made everything official and final. We can finally just be a family without looking over our shoulders. Lucas graduates from medical school at the top of his class. Sophie gets engaged to a wonderful man named James who treats her like she's precious. Emma decides to pursue a master's degree in social work because, she says, she wants to help other kids who feel abandoned and lost like she once did. On what would have been Uncle Thomas's 83rd birthday, we visit his grave together. I bring flowers, white chrysanthemums, his favorites, and we stand there in the quiet cemetery, paying our respects to the man who loved these children, even though he rarely saw them. "Thank you, Uncle Thomas," Lucas says quietly, "not just for the money, but for remembering us, for caring enough to make sure we'd be okay." We stand there together, 4 people bound not by obligation or law, but by love and choice and shared history. We've been through fire together and came out stronger on the other side. A few weeks later, I'm in my garden pulling weeds when my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, calls over the fence. "Margaret, did you hear? Your son David is in town. I saw him at the grocery store yesterday." My hands still in the soil. "Did you speak to him?" "Just briefly. He asked about you, about the kids. I told him everyone was doing well. He looked sad, Margaret. Really sad." I sit back on my heels, wiping dirt from my hands. "He probably is sad. Sometimes people only realize what they had after they've lost it permanently." That evening, there's a knock on my door. I open it to find David standing there, without a lawyer this time, without any agenda that I can see. He looks older, more worn than he did even 6 months ago in the courthouse. "Hi, Mom," he says quietly. "David." I don't invite him in, don't make any move to welcome him. "What are you doing here?" "Jennifer left me," he says simply. "Took Ryan and moved back to her parents' place in Portland. She said I was a failure, said she couldn't watch me destroy another family the way I destroyed my first one." "I'm sorry," I say, and surprisingly, I mean it. I don't like David much right now, but he's still my son, and I don't enjoy seeing him in pain. "Are you?" He gives a bitter laugh. "I wouldn't be sorry if I were you." I deserved it. I deserve all of this. Probably, I agree. But that doesn't mean I enjoy watching you suffer. He looks at me with surprise, as if he expected me to gloat. "Can we talk? Please? Just for a few minutes?" I consider sending him away. It would be easier, cleaner. But something in his face, a brokenness I haven't seen before, makes me step aside and gesture him into the house. We sit in the living room, the same room where he left his children 15 years ago. I wonder if he's remembering that night too. "I've been going to therapy," he says without preamble. "Real therapy, 3 times a week. I'm finally dealing with things I've been running from my whole life." "That's good," I say neutrally. My therapist helped me understand something. I abandoned Lucas, Sophie, and Emma because I was terrified of being the kind of father my dad was to me. Instead of breaking the cycle, I just ran away from it entirely. And then with Ryan, I tried so hard to be perfect that I smothered him. Jennifer said I was obsessive, controlling. I went from one extreme to the other and failed both times. "Why are you telling me this, David?" "Because I want you to know I understand now. I understand what I did to my kids, to you. I understand that I threw away the most important things in my life because I was scared and selfish. And I understand that coming back for the inheritance money was the most disgusting thing I could have done." I study his face, looking for signs of manipulation, of another angle. But all I see is exhaustion and genuine remorse. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he continues. "I don't deserve it. And I'm not asking to see the kids. I know that ship has sailed, and it's my fault. I just wanted you to know that I finally get it. I finally understand what you sacrificed, what you gave up to fix my mistakes. And I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. We sit in silence for a long moment. Outside, I can hear children playing in the neighborhood, their laughter drifting through the open window. David, I finally say, I appreciate you saying this. And I believe that you're working on yourself. But words are easy. Change is hard. If you really want to make amends, don't do it with apologies. Do it by becoming the kind of person your son Ryan can be proud of. Be the father to him that you couldn't be to Lucas, Sophie, and Emma. Ryan doesn't want to see me either, David says quietly. Jennifer has full custody. I get supervised visits once a month, and even those are a struggle. Ryan barely talks to me. He's angry that I broke up our family, angry that his mom cries all the time now. He's 13 and he thinks I'm a complete failure. Then prove him wrong, I say simply. You can't change the past, David. God knows I wish you could. But you can change how you move forward. Get your life together. Get a stable job. Pay your child support on time. Show up for those visits even when Ryan won't talk to you. Be consistent. Be reliable. Be there. Like you were for my kids, he says softly. Like I was for your kids, I confirm. Not because it was easy or convenient, but because it was right. David stands to leave, and I walk him to the door. He pauses on the threshold, looking back at the house like he's seeing it for the first time, really seeing it. This is where they grew up, he says. Where they learned to ride bikes, where they did their homework, where they became the people they are now. Yes, I missed all of it. It's not a question, just a statement of fact, heavy with regret. You did, I agree, and you can't get it back. That's the consequence you have to live with, David. He nods, tears running down his face. Thank you, Mom, for everything you did, for being the parent I couldn't be. I didn't do it for thanks, I tell him. I did it because they needed me. He walks away down the path, and I watch him go. I don't know if he'll really change, if he'll become better, but I hope he does. Not for me, not even for Lucas, Sophie, and Emma, but for Ryan, who still has a chance to have a father if David can finally become one. I close the door and lean against it, feeling the weight of 15 years lift just a little. I'm 71 years old. I raised 3 grandchildren when I should have been enjoying my retirement. I sacrificed my savings, my plans, my peaceful golden years, and I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. 3 months later, Lucas comes to me with news. Grandma, I got accepted to a residency program at Seattle Grace Hospital. It's one of the best programs in the country for cardiac surgery. Seattle? I raise my eyebrows. That's where your father lives. I know. He sits down at the kitchen table where we've had so many important conversations. I thought about that. But Grandma, I can't make my career decisions based on avoiding him. This is my dream program. And honestly, Seattle is a big city. The chances of running into him are pretty slim. You're right, I say. You shouldn't limit your life because of him. Take the residency. Follow your dreams. Sophie and James are talking about moving out there too, he adds. James got a job offer with a tech company in Seattle, and Sophie could easily find teaching work. Emma's been looking at grad programs at University of Washington. I smile, understanding what he's really telling me. You're all thinking of moving to Seattle together? We want you to come too, Grandma. He takes my hand. We're not leaving you behind after everything. We're a family. We go together. 2 weeks later, all 3 of them sit me down in my living room for what they call a family meeting. They've been planning this carefully, I can tell. Grandma, Sophie begins, we've been doing the math on the inheritance. Each of us is getting $200,000 from Uncle Thomas. That's $600,000 total. We've decided, Emma continues, that we're pooling some of our money to buy a house in Seattle. A big house with space for all of us. And before you argue, this is what we want. Lucas pulls out printed listings. We found a beautiful place in a neighborhood called Ravenna. 5 bedrooms, big backyard, close to good schools for when Sophie and James have kids. And Grandma, there's a master suite on the main floor that would be perfect for you. I look at these 3 beautiful, generous souls that I raised, and my heart overflows. You don't have to do this. We know we don't have to, Sophie says firmly. We want to. You gave us a home when we had none. Now we want to give you one. A new start for all of us. Together. How can I argue with that? How can I refuse this gift when they're offering it with such love and sincerity? 6 months later, we're moving into our new house in Seattle. It's chaos. Boxes everywhere. Furniture being delivered. Everyone talking and laughing and occasionally arguing about where things should go. Lucas hangs pictures in the living room. Sophie organizes the kitchen with military precision. Emma sets up what she calls the family room with comfortable couches and a big TV. My master suite on the main floor is perfect. Spacious with big windows that look out onto the garden, a bathroom with a walk-in shower that's easy on my aging joints. I sit on my new bed and look around at this space my grandchildren created for me, and I cry. Happy tears this time. That evening, we order pizza and sit around our new dining room table, exhausted but content. To new beginnings, Lucas says, raising his glass of soda. To family, Sophie adds. To Grandma, Emma finishes, who taught us that family isn't always about blood. It's about showing up. We clink our glasses together, and I look at their faces, tired, happy, hopeful. These are the children David threw away. These are the souls I nurtured through their darkest times, and now they're adults, successful and kind and whole, despite everything they went through. A few weeks after we're settled, I'm in the garden planting tomatoes when a car pulls up to the curb. I look up, shading my eyes against the sun, and my heart sinks a little. It's David. He gets out slowly, hesitantly, like he's not sure if he should be here. Lucas must have seen him arrive because he comes out of the house and stands beside me, protective. Dad, Lucas says neutrally. Hi, son, David's voice cracks. I heard you all moved to Seattle. I wanted to bring a housewarming gift. He holds up a small plant, a jasmine vine in a terracotta pot. Lucas looks at me, silently asking what I want him to do. I wipe the dirt from my hands and walk to the fence. Hello, David. Hi, Mom. The house looks great. He's not trying to come in, not pushing. Just standing there with that plant, looking lost. Thank you, I say. We're very happy here. He nods. I'm glad. You all deserve happiness. He sets the plant on the fence post between us. Jasmine was always your favorite, Mom. I remember you had one at the old house when I was a kid. I'm surprised he remembers. I did. An awkward silence stretches between us. Finally, David speaks again. I've been sober for 8 months now. Really sober this time. Not just saying it. I'm working as a contractor, doing honest work. I'm paying my child support on time. I've had 3 visits with Ryan, and the last one, he actually talked to me. Really talked, not just one-word answers. That's good, David. I'm happy for you. I'm not trying to insert myself into your lives, he says quickly. I know I don't have that right. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying, really trying this time. Sophie and Emma have come out onto the porch now, drawn by the sound of their father's voice. They stand there watching, not approaching, but not hiding either. Hi, girls, David says softly. You both look so grown up. Sophie, I heard you got engaged. Congratulations. Thank you, Sophie says carefully. David looks at all 3 of his children, his first children, the ones he abandoned. I know I have no right to say this, but I'm proud of you, all of you. Medical school, teaching, graduate school. You've all become amazing people despite having me as a father. Because we had Grandma, Emma says, her voice hard but not cruel, just stating facts. Yeah, David agrees, because you had Grandma. She saved you from me. Best thing that ever happened to you was her refusing to give up on you. He turns back to me. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be part of family dinners or holidays. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. And if there's ever anything you need, anything at all, I'll be there. I owe you that much and so much more. David, I say gently, you don't owe me anything. But you owe it to yourself to keep getting better. Keep working on yourself. Keep showing up for Ryan. Maybe someday, if you prove you've really changed, these three might decide they want some kind of relationship with you. But that's their choice, not mine. And it won't be today. I understand. He starts to back toward his car, then pauses. Mom, one more thing. I know about the inheritance, about you all pooling money for this house. I want you to know I'm not going to try anything. I talked to a lawyer and officially terminated any remaining parental rights. I have no legal claim to any of them or their money. I had the papers drawn up and notarized. I'll send you copies. I just wanted you to have peace of mind. This surprises me more than anything else, he said. Why would you do that? Because it's 15 years too late, but it's the right thing to do. They're not my kids anymore. Not really. They're yours. The law should reflect what's been true all along. He gets in his car and drives away. The four of us stand there in the garden, watching him go. Do you think he means it this time? Emma asks quietly. About changing. I don't know, I answer honestly. People can change, but it takes time and consistent action. We'll see if he follows through. Lucas picks up the jasmine plant David left. Should I throw this away? I take it from him, feeling the weight of the terracotta pot, smelling the sweet fragrance of the small white blooms. No, let's plant it in the garden. Whatever David is or isn't, jasmine is still beautiful. It shouldn't be punished for who brought it. We plant it together that afternoon next to the tomatoes and the herbs in the garden of our new home. As I pat the soil down around its roots, I think about how plants are resilient. You can transplant them, move them to new soil, and if you care for them properly, they'll not only survive but thrive. Maybe that's what we are. Transplanted, replanted, but growing stronger with each season. That night, after everyone has gone to bed, I sit in my room with a cup of chamomile tea and look through old photo albums. There are pictures of Lucas, Sophie, and Emma throughout the years, their first days of school, Halloween costumes, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, soccer games and piano recitals and science fairs. In every single photo, I'm there. Sometimes I'm in the picture with them, but mostly I'm behind the camera, capturing their moments, documenting their lives, building evidence of love, frame by frame, year by year. There's not a single picture of David, not one, because he was never there. And I realized something important. This wasn't revenge. I didn't fight David in court to hurt him or punish him. I fought him to protect the children I loved from someone who had proven he couldn't be trusted. Real revenge would have been vindictive, cruel, designed to cause maximum pain. What I did was defensive, protective, necessary. I simply told the truth and let the consequences fall where they would. The difference matters. 2 years pass. Lucas completes his first year of residency with excellent evaluations. Sophie and James get married in our backyard in a small, beautiful ceremony. Emma earns her master's degree and starts working at a youth counseling center, helping kids from broken homes. She tells me that every time she helps a child heal, she thinks of how I helped her heal. On my 73rd birthday, they throw me a surprise party. The house is full of people, neighbors, Lucas's colleagues from the hospital, Sophie's teacher friends, Emma's grad school classmates. It's loud and chaotic and wonderful. Late in the evening, when most of the guests have left, the four of us sit in the garden. The jasmine David planted has grown, climbing up a trellis, filling the air with its sweet scent. "Grandma," Lucas says, "there's something we want to tell you. We've been talking, and we want to make something official." The three of them look at each other, some silent communication passing between them. Sophie continues, "We want to legally change our last names. We want to become Lucas Chen Vance, Sophie Chen Vance, and Emma Chen Vance, hyphenated to honor both our biological heritage and the woman who actually raised us." I feel tears welling up. "You don't have to do that." "We know," Emma says, "but we want to. You gave us your name in every way that mattered. Now we want it to be official. We want the world to know we're yours." "And there's something else," Lucas adds. He pulls out an envelope. "We've all reached the age where we can access our inheritance. We've each taken our share and made some decisions. Sophie and James are using some of theirs for a down payment on their own place now that they're married. Emma's investing hers in her education and her career. I'm using some of mine for a fellowship opportunity. That's wonderful," I say, proud of their responsible choices. "But," Sophie says, "we all agreed on something first. Before any of us spent a penny on ourselves, we wanted to do this." Emma hands me an envelope. Inside is a check, a very large check. "That's from all three of us," Lucas explains. "It's $100,000, Grandma. It's not nearly enough for what you spent on us over 15 years, but it's a start. We want you to retire completely if you want. Travel. Do all the things you put off to raise us. Live the life you deserved all along." I look at the check, then at their faces, and I start crying in earnest now. This is too much. "It's not enough," Emma says firmly. "It will never be enough, Grandma. But please take it. Please let us give back a little of what you gave us. How do you argue with that kind of love? How do you refuse a gift given with such generosity and gratitude?" "Okay," I whisper. "Okay. Thank you." We sit together in the garden as the sun sets, the jasmine perfuming the air, and I think about how strange life is, how moments of crisis can become turning points, how the hardest decisions can lead to the most beautiful outcomes. This is Revenge Stories with Michelle, a home for quiet courage and true endings. If you feel my words, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your voice matters here. Your story matters too. 15 years ago, David left 3 traumatized children on my doorstep and drove away. He thought he was starting a new life, unburdened by responsibilities. What he actually did was give me 3 souls to nurture, 3 lives to shape, 3 hearts to heal. And in healing them, they healed me too. They gave me purpose when I was feeling old and useless. They gave me joy when I was lonely. They gave me a reason to get up every morning and fight for something bigger than myself. David came back for money, for an inheritance that wasn't his to claim. But what he lost was so much more valuable than any amount of money could ever be. He lost the love of 3 remarkable human beings. He lost the chance to watch them grow and change and become the people they are today. He lost the privilege of being called Dad by children who would have adored him if he'd only stayed. That's not revenge. That's consequence. That's the natural result of choices made and paths taken. As for me, I'm 73 years old, sitting in a garden in Seattle, surrounded by love and gratitude and hope. I'm watching my grandchildren, no, my children, because that's what they really are, build lives full of purpose and compassion and strength. I didn't get the retirement I planned. I didn't get to travel or rest or enjoy my golden years in peace. Instead, I got something better. I got to matter. I got to make a difference. I got to love and be loved in return. And I got to stand in a courtroom and tell the truth, protecting the people I love from someone who would have hurt them all over again. If that's revenge, then I'll take it. But I know what it really is. It's justice. It's protection. It's love in action. 3 months later, David contacts Lucas. He's been consistently sober for over a year now. He's rebuilt his relationship with Ryan to the point where they're actually spending time together every weekend. He's in therapy, working through his issues. And he wants to know if he can maybe someday sit down with his first 3 children and just talk. Lucas brings this to me. "What do you think, Grandma? Should we give him a chance?" I look at my grandson, tall, confident, successful, kind. He's everything David could have been if he'd made different choices. "That's not my decision to make," I tell him honestly. "You're all adults. If you want to hear what he has to say, that's your choice. But go into it with your eyes open. People can change, but past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. Be cautious. Protect your hearts. Will you come with us?" he asks. "If we decide to meet him, if you want me there, I'll be there. I'll always be there when you need me." They do decide to meet him, all 3 of them, with me present in a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown on a Saturday afternoon. David arrives early. I can see him through the window, sitting at a corner table, his leg bouncing with nervous energy. He's dressed neatly, cleanly shaved, looking healthier than I've seen him in years. When we walk in, he stands up immediately. "Thank you," he says. "Thank you all for coming." "I know you didn't have to." We sit down. The first few minutes are awkward, stilted. Small talk about the weather, about the coffee shop, about nothing important. Then Lucas, always the bravest, cuts through the nonsense. "Dad, why did you ask to meet with us?" David takes a deep breath. "Because I want you to know the truth. Not the version I've been telling myself for 15 years, but the real truth. I abandoned you because I was a coward. I was overwhelmed and scared, and instead of asking for help, I ran. I chose a woman I barely knew over the children I'd brought into this world. And then I came back, not because I missed you or wanted to be your father, but because I wanted money. I'm ashamed of all of it." Sophie's eyes are bright with tears. "Then why did you do it? If you knew it was wrong, why did you do it anyway?" "Because in the moment, it felt easier," David admits. "Running away felt easier than staying and fighting through the hard stuff. Trying to take your inheritance felt easier than fixing my own financial mess. I always chose the easy wrong over the hard right, and I lost everything because of it." "What do you want from us now?" Emma asks. She's the most guarded, the hardest to reach. "Why now, after all this time?" "What's changed?" "I'm different now," David says. "I know that's hard to believe. I wouldn't believe it either if I were you. But I've been doing the work, real work, hard work. I'm sober, I'm in therapy. I'm being a father to Ryan, actually showing up and being present. And I'm trying to make amends where I can." "You can't make amends for 15 years of abandonment," Emma says flatly. "There's no apology big enough for that." "You're right," David agrees. "There isn't. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking for the chance to be honest with you, to own what I did and acknowledge the pain I caused. You deserved a better father. Your grandmother shouldn't have had to sacrifice her retirement to fix my mistakes. I know all of that now." We sit in silence. Lucas is thinking, "I can tell." Sophie is crying softly. Emma is still guarded, her arms crossed protectively. Finally, Lucas speaks. Dad, I appreciate you saying all this. I do. But words are easy. The question is, what are you going to do? How are you going to prove you've changed? I don't know if I can prove it, David says honestly, at least not quickly. Change happens slowly. All I can do is keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep being consistent. And maybe, over time, you'll see that I'm different. Or maybe you won't, and that's okay too. Either way, I'm going to keep trying to be better. Sophie wipes her tears. I don't know if I can ever see you as my dad. Grandma is my parent. She's the one who raised me. But maybe we could try to get to know each other as people. No expectations, no pressure. Just see if there's any kind of relationship possible. David's eyes fill with tears. I would like that very much. Emma remains quiet, thinking. Then she says, I'm not ready. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not today. I need more time. That's completely fair, David says immediately. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when and if you're ever ready. Lucas nods slowly. Same for me. I'm willing to stay in contact, maybe coffee occasionally. But anything more than that, I need to see consistency over time. Prove you've changed through actions, not words. I will, David promises. I'll prove it. As we're leaving, David stops me. Mom, can I talk to you for just a minute? The kids go ahead to the car, leaving us standing on the sidewalk outside the coffee shop. Thank you, David says, for giving them a chance to meet me. You could have turned them against me completely, but you didn't. I never spoke badly about you to them, I say. I told them the truth when they asked, but I never tried to make them hate you. That wouldn't have helped anyone. You're a better person than I am, he says quietly. No, David. I just made better choices. That's all it is. Choices made day after day to do the right thing even when it's hard. I'm going to make better choices now, he says. I'm going to prove to you and to them that people can change. I hope you do, I say sincerely. Not for me, but for you. And for Ryan, who still needs a father. And for Lucas, Sophie, and Emma, he adds. Even if they never see me as their dad again, I want them to at least see that I tried to become someone better. 6 months later, David is still showing up. He has coffee with Lucas once a month. He started corresponding with Sophie through email, carefully, respectfully, with no pressure. Emma still isn't ready, and he respects that boundary completely. He sends me updates occasionally. Pictures of him with Ryan, proof of his sobriety milestones, information about his therapy progress. He's not asking for praise or recognition. He's just showing me that he's doing the work. And slowly, very slowly, I start to believe that maybe this time he really has changed. But even if he has, even if he becomes the father he should have been all along, it doesn't change the past. Lucas, Sophie, and Emma are mine in all the ways that matter. I raised them. I loved them. I fought for them. That bond can't be broken or replaced by David suddenly deciding to be present. The inheritance money is long spent, wisely invested in education, homes, futures. The house in Seattle is full of life and love and laughter. My grandchildren are thriving, building careers and relationships and lives worth living. And I'm here, watching it all unfold, grateful for every unexpected moment of this journey. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if David had never left those children with me. If he'd been a good father from the beginning, if he'd raised them himself, if I'd just been the grandmother who showed up for holidays and birthdays. Would they be different people? Probably. Would they be happy? Maybe. But I can't imagine my life without them now. They transformed my golden years from quiet retirement into purposeful chaos. They gave me reasons to keep fighting, keep living, keep loving. So in a strange way, I'm grateful for David's failure. Grateful for his weakness and his cowardice, because those flaws gave me 3 beautiful souls to nurture. That's the thing about life. Sometimes our greatest gifts come wrapped in the ugliest packages. Sometimes blessing looks like burden until years later when you can finally see the whole picture. I'm 73 years old and I've lived a life full of unexpected turns and unplanned adventures. I've been a daughter, a wife, a mother, a nurse, a grandmother, and a parent all over again when I thought that season of life was over. And if I had to do it all again, knowing everything I know now, I wouldn't change a single thing. Because in the end, this isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about redemption, not David's, but mine and the children's. We were all broken in different ways, and we healed each other. We built a family not from obligation or biology, but from choice and love and daily commitment. That's stronger than blood. That's forever. And that, more than any courtroom victory or inheritance money, is what matters. The truth set us free. Love kept us together. And justice, real justice, was simply each of us getting exactly what our actions deserved. I got 3 children to love. They got a parent who would never leave, and David got to live with the consequences of his choices. In the end, that's not revenge. That's life. That's what happens when you choose love over convenience, commitment over comfort, and truth over easy lies. And I would make those choices again, every single time. This is Revenge Stories with Michelle, a home for quiet courage and true endings. Your support through likes, subscriptions, and comments keeps these stories alive. Thank you for being here, for listening, for caring about stories like mine. Wherever you're watching from, know that your voice matters. Your story matters too. Until next time, may your truth be your strength and your love be your legacy.